Hi, good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day to y'all.
Good
Uh, this is
morning.
this is
Good
Carl
morning. Thank
Cuesta
you.
with ALF Rookie. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Melissa Hunt. I founded Eldercare Solutions Group, and this is my husband, Tracy. Go ahead, honey.
Good morning. I'm Tracy. I'm Melissa's husband, obviously. And back in 2021, we opened the home at Bear Creek and then Eldercare Solutions Group and then tax accounting team and several other things to support people in opening up personal care homes and residential care homes.
Yes, definitely. Like the one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you guys today was because of the personal care homes aspect of it. I mean, here in assisted living facility, Rookie, we kind of every service that can be geared towards assisted living, I like to interview them. But I feel like the route that a lot of people take is they go personal care homes while they're going through the licensing process, and then they go to assisted living. But I mean, there's a niche for everything, and I've heard a lot of people say personal care homes is where they want to stay. So, you know, I'm looking forward to learning more about y'all's system and basically like how you fit into the puzzle of assisted living. Um, can you speak to us more on the personal care home side of it? Like, how do you, as Elder Care Solutions Group, help others do exactly that, personal care homes?
Absolutely. So we actually decided to we were going that route. So we bought the home, we opened it as an unlicensed care home. I started going through the licensing process and I took all the tests and I got myself licensed to run a small assisted living facility. That was the plan.
Mhm.
And short of getting the fire suppression system in place and the generator and all the costly stuff, we were
Yes.
having conversations with the people who were in our home. And overwhelmingly, what they had told us was is they're not interested in going back into a licensed facility type of environment. They liked the type of care that we offered so much that they didn't want to change. So we took a look at what it was that we were doing and how we could make it successful. And we chose to stay in the unlicensed lane because what we've discovered is that we tell people we operate at or above licensing standards. And what that means is that we're striving to do everything at least as good as the licensed places are, if not better. So we have, as an unlicensed care home, we have the ability to make those choices in alignment with the families and the medical team's feedback for what each person's individual needs are. So we're not just making decisions based on what we think is best. We're working with everybody and really striving to provide the kind of care that I want. And
Mhm.
really, that's what this comes down to is when we started Elder Care Solutions Group, I was looking for a way to connect people who were at their most vulnerable with quality care, whether it's doctors or facilities or whatever it was. And having a lot of trouble kind of weeding through what was out there and just looking at what was out there, wanting to make sure that if it was something that I wanted for me, that I would hand it to the people that I loved or that I was taking care of.
Exactly.
And everywhere I looked, I did not see some place that I wanted to be cared for. So I told Tracy, I said, we get to do something different. We get to build something that I would want to be cared for in. And that's really how the home at Bear Creek was born. It's a big, beautiful home. My family lives here. My kids are here. We homeschool. We've got people
Oh,
in and out
awesome.
of the kitchen at all times. We are highly family based. And so that means when our residents come in, their families come in, right? And we have this hubbub of activity all the time, whether it's sons and daughters or nieces and nephews or church members, grandkids, whatever it looks like. We've got people coming through all the time. And it's not just medical professionals. So it feels different than a facility. It's not just nurses and CNAs and people doing their jobs. It is a home. And this is, I think, the missing component in what I was looking for. I wanted family. I wanted kids. I wanted people to be in and creating this space of life. And it's a very life-giving thing, especially when you have like 2 and 3 year olds running around.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a place to come and wait to till you pass, right? That's not the culture here at all. The culture here is we live every day until
Mhm.
we stop breathing. And there's just something very different about that that is appealing to me, and it's appealing to a lot of people. So what we're finding is that family aspect, it just really works for the people who want that.
That's excellent. I like the fact that you actually have like 2 and 3 year old kids with these elderly patients because, my background is a medical field, and I was like that really does something to their mental status. Like it kind of like revives them a little bit, to have that young one just learning the world. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a study done that Stanford University did mixing elderly people with younger kids. It was like an adult daycare with a child
Mhm.
daycare. And you would think that, okay, yes, it would help the elderly people do better. And it does, but it also helps the kids do better. They both actually benefited from that relationship, the younger and older. So it really is, it's life-giving in two parts, and
Mhm.
it when everybody who experiences it, they notice it, whether they can put their finger on what it is or not. It's something that is just filling to the soul.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
And one of the things Melissa touched on, but not really delved into, is, and you mentioned, a lot of people getting in see their path is kind of like what ours started out with. We started out unlicensed, and our original path was to become a licensed facility.
Mhm.
And here in Texas, unlicensed homes are typically referred to as personal care homes. I know other states, they have different names for things. So when you hear us say personal care home, please interpret that as unlicensed care home,
Mhm.
because in your state that may be different. But one of the things that we do very differently from other people who are doing personal care homes is that we do this as a family.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people out there who are doing personal care homes, but they're just really three-bedroom hospitals, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
see that.
that's a key difference, and I think it's been the secret sauce of our success, is doing this as a family. Our three teenage kids live here, their three dogs live here, we live here. We have 8 people in our home,
Wow.
24/7, because Melissa said we homeschool and whatnot, and I work out of our house. So it's the Brady Bunch. It's a big, happy, family, mostly happy.
Mostly.
Most of the time,
because
most of
we
the
are
time.
because we are a family, right? And
And our
fam
kids are teenagers.
yeah, and sometimes the volume gets elevated and the words get, and that's okay. That's real life. That's better than a cold, sterile environment, in my opinion, any day.
I love that. Like one of the reasons I got into this space was because, my parents are getting older and I would love to get them the care. I would love it if I could care for them like 24/7, but I've seen that story and I've seen that route and people get burnt out. So, and then the next thing I thought about was like, hey, maybe I can look into hiring somebody. But I was like, man, this is not really sustainable, honestly. Like it's a lot. It's like $400 a day. Some people can be comfortable with that. With me, I'm like, man, that's a lot of work. So, I looked into assisted living and personal care homes, and I think this is the space I think that they would most benefit from in 10 or 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
and it's a unique space because I'll be the first one to admit, and I tell people this all the time. There are some people that I would take care of my mom or his mom. We've had his dad here.
Oh, nice.
But when it comes to like just I'm going to get real vulnerable here. My dad will not live in my home. Cuz not every family pairing is going to be a healthy one, right?
Yeah,
So
that is true.
not everybody is cut out for this. Not everybody can do this with their own family. But I think I'm very good at putting myself into the shoes of the people that I'm serving. So 40 years into the future, if my kids can't stand me or for some reason can't take care of me, what is
Mm,
it that I want? What do I foresee as something that would be a good end for me? And if it can't be my family, I would love for it to be a family, you
mhm,
know? And so that's what we're out to provide, because it's just not feasible for every family to take in their elders. We understand that.
mhm,
And should that mean that they don't get family time at the end? not necessarily, you know, it could be a family, somebody who's going to love on them like their son or their daughter would if they possibly could. And I think that's just part of, we talk about dignity in care and end of life. And I feel like that's a huge part of it, is being able to provide family um, in the times when we want it or need it the most.
That's excellent. I think you're gonna be fine, just fine in 40 years from now. Like the way the way you're talking about it and the way you guys are so close, that's beautiful, you know. And I feel like that's what it was in, you know, I'm from the Philippines, you know, that's how it is over there. Like when you get older, you live with your family, but
Mhm.
everyone kind of over there, everyone kind of tends to stay very, very close to each other, like houses away from each other, because we're a small village basically.
Right.
So when, you know, in America, it's totally different because I have cousins in North Carolina, Brooklyn, like Jersey. Like it's cool, we're cool, but like we don't really, we're like too far.
Sure.
There's no way, you know. So that's definitely something that having a home like this would definitely help to care for your loved ones as they get older.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, thousands of years ago, before mass transportation, all that stuff, this is how it used to be,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And in a lot of other places in the world, it still is, where
Mhm.
family takes care of a family. And in the US, that's just not the culture that we currently have. That's
Mhm.
okay. So how do we give people, how do we create a space that's what humanity longs for in a culture that doesn't necessarily support that anymore? And
Mhm.
that's what we do. It's family, right? And we create that space of family and invite people in.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Now, one of the things that I saw, uh, please correct me if I'm wrong. It was like, I don't know if it was you or someone mentioned the Eldercare Solutions group have someone having a property and then the Eldercare Solutions group helping to set it up. Is that what it is? Like you were saying something like, oh, if you're an investor, this would be the perfect thing for you, uh, if you had this kind of property. Can you kind of talk more about that?
Sure. So at the end of our first year at the home at Bear Creek, we had a waiting list that could fill 4 more homes.
Wow.
And here in the state of Texas, as soon as we have 4 beds, we own 4 beds, everything gets to be licensed. Doesn't matter how many homes it is, it goes by
Mhm.
number of beds. So we will never have more than 3 beds that we own. So
Mhm.
in looking at each other at the end of that first year, and how do we serve more people? We legally can't open a second home, and that's not a law I'm willing to break.
No.
So we responded to that by saying, okay, you know what? This has been a game changer for us. This is the life. This is who my wife was created to be. She's a phenomenal caregiver. There've got to be other people out there who are phenomenal caregivers who are making 15 bucks an hour who are worthy of 15,000 a month.
Mhm.
And we found one, was our very first employee who was working with us, and we said, okay, we know this model works for us, but quite honestly, we could be a fluke. Let's see if we can make this work with somebody else. And so we did with John and Michelle. And guess what? We got up and running in like 6 months. They got up and running in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So we knew then that yes, it's not just us, it's not just happenstance. This is actually something people want, and it's something we can support other people in creating for themselves. So that's why we created the digital course and the coaching program and all that stuff. And we have all that stuff available through Eldercare Solutions Group. On the real estate investing side, here's the opportunity. We're typically dealing with larger, higher end homes, right? Not mansions, not $1 million homes, unless you're in California, but here in Texas, we're talking 2 to 3,000 square feet, 4 or 5 bedrooms, because we're going to have 3 residents and then a caregiver and maybe children. Um, so larger, slightly luxury homes. Typically, those aren't the homes that investors go for, but here's an interesting opportunity, because you now have a tenant who's going to be running this business. all right?
Hmm.
This business of caring for elderly people, it's in their best interest to take care of that place, not tear it down. And
Yeah.
everybody in real estate, I mean, the worst tenant in the world is the one, that's going to crash everything and holes in walls. And we don't have that here. So you have an opportunity to get a higher end home that typically is going to appreciate better anyway, with a tenant that's going to take care of it better than any other tenant would. And you're probably able to charge a little bit more than market for that because they're going to be bringing in the revenue from a business for it. So from
Mhm.
my perspective, that's a win-win-win. And so we're in the process of finding real estate investors to have those conversations, because not everybody understands that. Not everybody thinks like that. People typically, real estate investors, they know one particular way to do things, or they're
Mhm.
very good at one particular way of doing things. And this is something new. This is something different. This is not a licensed facility where you're going to need a whole bunch of mods and for fire suppression and all that kind of stuff. This is a real home. This is a real family. It's just a better case for the real estate investor.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of investors that I work with, they're very, it's like single family or short-term rental or medium-term rental or long-term. Like that's pretty much it. Or they're the big multifamily people. There's no real like mix, like, like this. I feel like it's such a unique, like it's really like a unique space. It's more of like a healthcare slash real estate hybrid space,
Sure.
it's beautiful. I mean, you know. So, I mean, that's definitely something I hope more people will learn from. And because I feel like in the end, in 20 years from now, you're gonna be using it as like being a resident in a personal care home or someone that you know, someone that you love. So definitely you want to learn from it now while you have the chance, while you have the time to learn and while you're not like rushing to find a place. So that's definitely one of the things I want to kind of share with people. Now, you guys have been in the game a long time. Like, what is one challenge or more if you'd like? And, and then is there a solution to that?
So for me, I think the longest month for me was the month that I was running both daytime shifts and nighttime shifts, and that was the longest year that was squeezed into about 6 weeks. Um, it was, and I go over and over with the people that I train. You get to take care of yourself,
Mhm.
because as a caregiver, if you're pouring, people have heard the well analogy before, right? You dip from the well, you're giving to people. What happens when you get to the bottom? And you might start getting a little sand and silt, and then if you're giving that to people, then it's not
Mhm.
as great. But you keep going and you're going to start getting sludge. And if we're throwing that onto people, that just doesn't feel good. That's not true service, right? It doesn't help me, it doesn't help the people that I'm serving. So yeah, taking care of myself, sleep, and that what I've discovered is people say there isn't enough time. There is enough time for whatever you're willing to prioritize. And when
That's
it
true.
becomes absolutely necessary, you'll find a way to make it happen. Um, my prayer is that it becomes absolutely necessarily a lot sooner than it did for me, because it did get messy. And I'm so blessed to have Tracy and my kids and people who, when they saw how detrimental it was to me to not have sleep, that they stepped in and they had my back when I needed it and didn't know how to ask for help. um
You said
so
6 weeks? Wow, that's a soldier right there. Wow.
So So just a little bit of backstory there. When we you mentioned, people starting out with an unlicensed home to kind of learn the ropes, and that is, I am totally on board with that. Absolutely 100% agree. It is a great way to learn the business at a small scale so that you can scale up if you want to.
Mhm.
So one of the things we'd planned when we started this, we didn't really plan to have a lot of employees. We planned to have someone come in a couple days a week, really just to help and clean. And then we got our very first resident. And our very first resident, her family she had sundowners. She had Alzheimer's.
Ooh.
And her family was insistent that we have somebody awake 24/7 with her. She didn't really need it, but she was coming from a place that created a lot of anxiety in the family, and they just wanted that extra thing. So we agreed to that. Well, we didn't have a plan for it, and here we just agreed to it. So how in the world are we gonna how are we gonna do this? And we did a whole bunch of different things. You know, we started out with, our kids like to stay up late at night. I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. She's going to have the bell. You hear the bell, you come wake us up, right? You know, we did that for a while. We did, you know, I did day shift, she did night shift. I did night, we tried a whole bunch of different things. And some of them worked better than others. And it was during that time, and you know, for that, with a couple of other residents, that things started to take a toll, and we shifted. Right, that's when we hired people to do overnights and started sleeping again. uh, and we ran that way for a couple of years. Well, guess what? The residents that we have in our home now sleep pretty well through the night, so we don't have overnight employees. Our need for support shifts with the residents that we have, and so we don't have we have a steady employee schedule that goes along with and supports our home and our residents.
That's excellent. Is it like is it employees that you hired yourselves, or is it like another one of those agencies where you kind of work together and they staff? Like how does that what's the how's the staffing situation like for you guys?
So we hire ourselves, and in fact, that's one of the modules that we have in our digital course, is how we go about finding support, where we find people, the different ads we use, how we do the interviews, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we do uh, we hire people ourselves. We don't use a third party agency or service for, and you can. There's nothing wrong with that, and we've chosen to do it ourselves.
That's excellent. That's excellent. You actually get to know the people and you know their whole background.
Yeah, well, and for us, there's a heart issue, right? Because some of the best employees that we've had have never really done formal
Mhm.
caretaking. And some of the most professional people that we've had in our home that have been caretakers for years, we've had feedback that they're just not as gentle. They're not as kind. They're not as, whatever the case. They may have years of experience, but these are people who have done it for years, and this person is just a person, and there's not necessarily a connection there.
Mhm.
So we are always looking for somebody who has the heart for caring, and all of the rest of the things can be trained.
I
So,
believe that is a must. Like, you know, I've worked with people that are excellent on paper, but man, they're not that great, like to talk to.
right. Well, and that shift for me came from, I thought I need to have professionals in my home in order to be professional.
Mhm.
And I would hire the professionals, and the feedback that we got, again, from our residents, who we allow them to have cameras in their rooms, so they're watching and they're
Mhm.
seeing how our employees interact with their mama or their dad.
Mhm.
And I went on vacation. I had a professional in here, and my kids were still here in the home, and they support just because they know how the home runs.
Mhm.
And at the time, my 14-year-old son, he is a towering, massive human being with, shoulders and the heart of just the sweetest, most precious heart, of a caregiver. And the family of this resident was sending me video clips and pictures saying, "Did you train them to change mom this way? Did you train them to move her
Not our
that way?"
14-year-old, the
No, not the,
Wow.
professional.
yes, the professional. And I would look at the videos and go, "No, this is not how you move a human being." And then Ian would come in, my son,
Mhm.
and he would support getting her into her bed, and the parents told me, or the children of the resident told me, you know, 14-year-old is better with these people than your professional people that come in. And I think about it, I would rather have a 14-year-old with a heart for loving people, taking care of me, than a 30-year-old who's in it for the paycheck any
That's
day
a
of the
big,
week.
that's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I mean, it's true. You really can't train heart. And when you have heart and you have love for your neighbor, you treat people, you treat things differently. You
Yeah.
know, I totally believe in that. That's awesome. Well, what is the best way to reach you guys?
So we have eldercaresolutionsgroup.com. That kind of outlines everything we do. And as Tracy alluded to, we've got a lot of pans and a lot of fires. um, and I just want to brag on him for a little while. I could not do what I do without him and his support. He plays in the background a lot, but he keeps me legitimate. He makes sure that I'm, playing by all the rules state-wise and licensing wise and everything. So do you mind talking a little bit about how you support me, honey?
So one of the things we found, just real quick, when we started the program to support other caregivers, was there's a lot of people like Melissa who are really great caregivers that can really benefit from the support that I provide her. So one of the things we offer, if they want it, is that same back end support that I provide Melissa with all the booking, the accounting, the payroll, the taxes, the HR, the IT, all that stuff, legal, yada, yada, yada. I handle all that for us. And so I offer that to other people that want that as well. And it's a great way for caregivers like Melissa, who are tremendous when it comes to interacting with people and could use support when it comes to the back end stuff. Great. We have that option if that's what people want. Best way to get a hold of us, a couple things. There's the website, eldercaresolutionsgroup.com. And I'll send you these links. You can post them. We have the Facebook group called Residential Care Homes for Newbies.
Okay, I think I'm a member of that. Yeah.
Yep. And part of the reason we created that was in a lot of other forums, when you start talking about unlicensed homes, we were getting censored and shut down. So we created a place to have an open discussion, whether licensed, unlicensed, what does it take to be quality, all that stuff. So that's Residential Care Homes for Newbies on Facebook. And finally, we have an 800 number that people can call, text, whatever, and that's 833-557-7553. And I apologize, I'm not sure what's going on
That's okay.
with my phone.
Somebody's calling him.
I didn't even hear it, so it's okay.
I had it on mute, but then it wasn't muted. So again, the phone number is 833-557-7553, eldercaresolutionsgroup.com, or Residential Care Homes for Newbies on Facebook. And I'll get you all those links you can post.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, I talk to a lot of people, and I can tell that talking to you guys, you truly do care about your patients. And, I wish you more prosperity and blessings this new year. So keep up the good work, guys. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carlos.